No, don't do it. Unless, actually, let me take a step back here. So the question I'm trying to answer is, should you get an arcade machine? And because of the nature of this channel, I'm specifically talking about a DDR machine, Dance Dance Revolution, or even in the groove, some dance game machine. My answer for the general player is still going to be no. I know that may sound hypocritical given that I have an arcade machine sitting behind me right now, but I still think that most players do not need a full arcade machine setup. You shouldn't really bother chasing one down unless I believe you have to fit a few requirements. You have to meet some criteria to, I think, qualify for having a machine. Because, not everyone is going to want a full arcade machine. You're not going to really need an arcade machine. Even if you think you want one, you probably do not need one. But this is for people who really, really want it and think that they should get one, whether it's a DDR, ITG, Pump It Up, Step Maniacs, or maybe some other rhythm game machine like 2DX. First thing is money. Can you actually afford to get a machine? Because these things are thousands of dollars, not including shipping. Do not go into debt trying to get an arcade machine. It is not worth it. Be sure that you can actually afford to buy a machine. Also take in consideration shipping prices, transportation, or you're going to get it yourself. You're going to rent a truck. You're going to pay for movers, hire some friends, hire movers, a lot of other expenses that go into getting the machine on top of the machine itself. So first thing, have money. Second thing, do you have space? Do you live in a place where you can actually comfortably put the machine? Like I have, you see behind me, a dedicated spot for the machine where it's just big enough to fit the body of the cabinet and the pads. Any smaller, I probably would not be able to comfortably fit it here. You need to have a lot of space for this thing. So if you live in like an apartment, a multi-story apartment, small home, probably too big for your place. Is there a way to get it into a room? Are the doorways, hallways too narrow? If you think that it's going to be a huge hassle, a huge burden to move it into your space, just don't bother. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of risk of injury, a lot of hassle for what it's worth. So if you have like a garage or something, or a big open area in your house, then sure, that could work. Third thing is you got to be willing to put in the hours, the amount of time to learn how the arcade machine works, how to maintain it, what parts do you need to source in case you need to replace something, what to do when something doesn't work, how to troubleshoot the machine. Also depends on what game you're wanting to run too. You might have to know some people to find help to maybe guide you if you're not familiar enough with how an arcade machine works, how it plays your game. Like, be ready to learn how all this works. You're going to have a lot of questions if you know jack shit about how the arcade machine runs the game, what literally anything is. Get familiar with tools, learn what a multimeter is, how to use a multimeter. There are a lot of electrical parts that could go bad, so get ready for that, especially if it's a really old machine. I mean, thankfully, there are a lot of resources that can point you in the right direction. There are part shops online where you can get the exact parts that you need for your DDR machine, Pump It Up machine, whatever it is. But be ready to learn about all that stuff. Like, be ready to not just like ask people every single question that comes to mind, because that's going to get annoying for a lot of people. If you're going to be, you got to do your own research sometimes. You got to learn Google, learn how to Google, learn how to chat GPT, whatever whatever it is you use to search for nowadays. Learn how to find stuff on your own and then ask questions. So yeah, the third thing is be willing to learn. And like sometimes you can tell when people will get annoyed when you're asking like 1,000 questions. Don't take that personally. These people who have been getting bombarded with questions probably have been asked the same thing thousands of times. So if you have a question about how anything works, the answer is probably out there. Like if you have questions about parts, how to run a game, which game you're going to run. You're going to run Stepmania, you're going to run DDR Grand Prix, or maybe something else. I have guides on my channel that could probably help you out with that. Maybe not the last part, but keep in mind, I have a lot of DDR resources on this channel that you can search for. And the fourth thing is, if you are sure that you will not settle for anything less than the true arcade experience. You want the big flashy lights blinding you. You want to be able to touch the buttons on the control panel when you're selecting your song and then trip on the chord on the way back to the pad. If you want to be able to experience all that, you want the big monitor in front of you. If you want to experience all that, like just having a pad isn't enough. You got to have the real thing. Maybe you want to have the machine as like a collector's thing. Maybe you don't care about running Stepmania or running the latest game. If you don't care about running Grand Prix, maybe you just want to run like the classic DDR, like Extreme, Max 2, fourth mix. Then if you want that old school classic genuine arcade experience and won't settle for anything less than that, then okay. So if you fit all four of those criteria, you've got the money, you've got the space, you are willing to put in the time to learn how the machines work, and you won't settle for anything less than the true arcade experience, then sure, get an arcade machine. But for most of you who just want to play the game, you just want to run Stepmania, you just want to be able to get on a pad and play the game, you probably don't need the machine at all. Most of the really dedicated players, they'll get their own machine and eventually they'll get rid of the body of the cabinet. So they'll get rid of the marquee, the lights, the whole body. You don't really need that. You just need the pad. Maybe just like one pad. Or if you want to play doubles, you can keep both pads. Like that's usually all they need. So for most people who just want to play the game, there are a lot more consumer targeted, consumer ready to purchase pads available now. Like if you just want to play the game, get an LTEC. If you want to play the game and save space, get an LTEC. If you want like an arcade pad like that, B2L, Stepmaniacs, eventually the YuanCon arcade pad. Those will replicate the arcade experience the best. Like, even if you're playing on an LTEC, going to an arcade machine, it's not that huge of an adjustment. So don't think that you really need a whole arcade machine to really enjoy the game. Like the experience of playing the true arcade game is awesome. Like if you've played at Round 1, if you played at Dave & Buster's, some arcade that has the real deal, yeah, it's awesome. You'll wish that you had that at home, but those things are huge and expensive and a pain in the ass to take care of. That's why I'm telling you now, you got to know what you're getting yourself into when you're getting these things. Okay, so you want to get a DDR machine, you want to get an In the Groove machine, Pump It Up machine, some dance game machine. How do you get one? Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace is probably the number one place you should look for this kind of stuff. Full-on arcade machines. Like there's always going to be somebody selling a machine somewhere. Craigslist used to be good, but I don't know if people use it anymore. I think nowadays it may be too ugly and too scary to navigate. So not a lot of people want to use something like that anymore. So Facebook Marketplace, probably the best place to find like at least the classic DDR cabinets. Sometimes you'll find more modern cabinets like the white cabinet or the DDR-X black cabinet, and get ready to pay a lot, thousands of dollars for a really good condition cabinet. You may have heard stories about people getting like really good deals. Like, for example, me, I got mine for $900. There's someone else who got like a Supernova cab for like $200, but those are rare cases, rare exceptions. You will probably never find a deal like that unless you sweet talk an arcade operator in the middle of nowhere for their DDR machine. You get really lucky with a deal. You find you gotta snipe a deal on Facebook Marketplace if they are lowballing really hard. Sometimes you'll find a good deal, but most of the time, people who are selling their arcade machines or people who are importing the newer machines, those are going to be a lot more costly, and it's going to take a long time to ship over. So that's something else you gotta be ready for. Be ready to wait a long time if you're looking for a newer cabinet. They got to ship that over on a boat. It's going to take months, maybe up to a year or longer. Who knows? It depends on who you go through. But yeah, for people who really want it, a DDR machine, Facebook Marketplace. For everybody else, just get one of the consumer options, LTEC, B2L, whatever. Whatever can get you playing the game with the least effort. I think that is more important than getting a whole ass machine. Thanks for watching. Play DDR. See ya.